There's loss.
Part of salt. Yeah, so that was.
Yeah, we have quorum.
In the green, we're just work down there, but I hadn't,
Looking, he's like.
I never paid attention, so I'm gonna pay attention.
Which basement bunker he has.
Everything over the sheet.
Yeah.
My mic on. Welcome, everybody, to the Council Committee presentation meeting of December the 2nd, 6 p.m. Welcome to our guests. We look forward to hearing from you soon. I'll ask our CAO for the roll call, please.
Thank you very much. So we'll start with the chair, Deputy Mayor Sanderson.
Present.
Mayor Blair has sent her regrets. Councillor Weatherby.
Present.
Councillor Richardson has sent regrets. Councillor Cooper, I see online. Councillor Johnson.
Present.
Can you hear me?
Yes,
No, no.
yes.
You can't hear us.
Can you hear us?
I can't hear anything there.
Yeah.
Oh,
Okay. Councillor Leggett.
Present.
Councillor Martell. Councillor Patton. Councillor Benoit sends her regrets. Councillor Fletcher.
present.
Councillor Kennedy.
Present.
You have one.
Thank you, Dan. In peace and in friendship and in the spirit of truth and reconciliation, I acknowledge that the Municipality of Colchester is in Mi'kma'ki, the unceded and ancestral territory of the Mi'kmaq. We have one presentation tonight, and it's Rural Colchester Partnership for Economic Prosperity, and I'll ask the presenter or presenters to come forward, please. It's a chair, and there's a microphone there, David. If you want to just turn, it's the bottom right button, please.
Think it's on already?
No,
No,
it would be on the mic itself.
On the mic itself?
on the base.
There you
There you go.
Yeah, it's red. Does that mean it's on?
Yeah.
Yes.
That's counterintuitive.
Councilor Cooper.
Means you're the main man.
Fair enough. First of all, I'd like to thank you all for taking the time to listen to our presentation tonight. I want to assure you that I spent the afternoon slicing and dicing this presentation and cutting a bunch of stuff out of it, so I won't keep you too long and you can get safely home before the snow really starts to pile up.
Just turn your microphone up, David. Swing it towards you. Yeah. I don't.
First of all,
There.
is that good?
That's
Yeah.
perfect.
First of all, I want to thank you all for not only meeting with me tonight, but also for your continuing support of the Rural Colchester Partnership. We did request and receive a significant increase in funding from our municipal partners this year, for which we're incredibly grateful. This is quite a significant and consequential year for our economy in Canada and Nova Scotia and in the region. And we felt it was very important that we really amp up our programming and our informational services to businesses so that they understood on a daily basis what was happening in terms of our economy, in terms of tariffs and all kinds of other craziness coming from south of the border. We're working hard to make sure that the business community here is well equipped to prepare for strange things that are happening, to secure their supply chains and to work to diversify their markets. Nova Scotia and our region, like all parts of Canada, have been hugely dependent on the US market for most of our history. Times have changed. That's no longer a reliable market for us, at least for the foreseeable future. And we're working hard to teach the business community that there are other options and other opportunities and other places. Having traveled quite widely in the world, I know what the world thinks about Canada. And there's a great deal of respect and affection and trust for Canada. And the world is waiting to purchase our products. And we have, I think, 15 free trade deals with more than 50 countries around the world. And dozens more almost free trade deals with many more countries. It's a little more complicated to trade with countries that don't speak English. But the market is wide open and there are tons and tons of resources in Canada for businesses that want to export to other countries. So we're working really hard we'll be hosting a series of of workshops over the course of the year to make sure that the business ecosystem is really aware of all of those options, all of those resources, and all of those opportunities. In addition to just giving them information that's coming through from the federal government and the provincial government on changes that are taking place. Our provincial funding is still flat from 2017, even in spite of, significant inflationary pressures. So the willingness of our municipal partners to really step up and provide increased support to us was really critical at this particular moment. And so I hope you all realize the importance of what you've done. And I'd like to just walk you through today some of our signature accomplishments over the course of the last fiscal year, and then some of the things that we're planning coming up. But most importantly, I wanted to thank you for the support that you've always provided to TCPEP. And I want to make sure that you're getting an expected return on your investment and hopefully to delight you. I think all of you have received our new 3-year strategic plan. And this year, for the first year, we actually developed a mission statement and a vision statement, which I can't read to you because your pictures are in front of here, and you can't see it here either. So maybe you can.
We've got it here.
You've got it in front of you?
Yeah.
Okay, so you can read those. So that was the, yes, thank you. Thank you very much. In fact, now that you mentioned, I have it right in front of me. So the vision is a vibrant, prosperous, inclusive, and resilient regional economy where businesses thrive, communities are connected, and people can build successful lives. And how do we do that? By growing the economy and communities of Colchester County, by advising entrepreneurs and businesses at every stage, attracting and retaining talent, and promoting the region as an exceptional place to live, work, and invest. And that you'll find in our new 3-year strategic plan. For those of you who may not be as familiar with TCPEP, we are one of 7 regional enterprise networks across Nova Scotia, also known as REN. And our job is essentially to grow the economy of our region. And that kind of breaks down into really 3 big buckets. One being business growth and investment attraction. So that's providing expert, objective advice and resource navigation to businesses, startups, existing businesses that want to grow or have a problem to solve. In addition to that, we work with our municipal partners to attract new businesses and new business investment to Colchester County. We have 6 business parks in Colchester County, including, of course, the most important one, the Adjournment Industrial Park. And we have a mandate to build those parks, create economic wealth for the region, and create jobs for our kids. The second one is strategic population growth. We used to call that people attraction. And our tactics were basically doing advertisements in magazines and on billboards, television, and so on, to promote the region. But in light of some of the challenges that we're facing in the country in terms of housing and so on, we've changed that to strategic population growth. And what that means is that rather than just advertising generically to anybody who might be interested in living here, we want to specifically target the people with the skill sets that we need now. So that would be people to build houses, for example, people in the skilled trades, people who have money to invest, doctors, nurses, the people we need to manage our healthcare system so that they can build the infrastructure that makes it make sense for us to grow the population.
In progress.
Mike, can you hear us now? Can you hear us now? Sorry, David.
And the third is workforce development. So that's matching up businesses with the skills that they need to go forward. And so that's a big priority for us as well. And right now our focus is really on skilled trades. So recruiting young people, students, graduates, wayward youth under 30 for direct entry into the apprenticeship program. So we're working with businesses in the community, and reaching out to kids in the schools and helping them understand that the skilled trades are a respectable and well-paying career. And that's something that, hasn't traditionally been promoted aggressively in schools. And that's something that needs to change going forward, because that's when we think about the gaps that we're facing, that impede our ability to grow the economy and grow economic prosperity in the region. The biggest gap is in the skilled trades, and that's no more apparent anywhere than in housing construction. We've had some other stuff kind of thrown on our plate. Physician recruitment being one of those, housing being another one, and transit, both within the region and in and out of the region, are priorities for us as well as we move forward. That's what I wanted to do. I just want to give you a picture of our beautiful board. Obviously, this changes every year, but the board is chaired currently by Rayleigh Rath. The deputy chair is Dr. Heather Bruce, who's the Dean of Agriculture at Dalhousie University, and Kevin Rao from CIBC is our treasurer. We have a number of new members this year as well. And these are our ex officio members, and you'll see Mr. Troke front and center there. All of the CIOs are ex officio members, as well as the executive director of the Colchester Chamber of Commerce. I just want to take this opportunity to introduce the people that have accompanied me this evening. Our colleagues at the Truro Colchester Chamber of Commerce, Lexi and Chelsea, and my colleague AJ Vaught, who is the regional manager of the Northern Connector program. So he's responsible for that skilled trades piece. I'm really happy to have the chamber represented here. The Chamber of Commerce, under Councillor Martel's direction, was really the catalyst for the creation of the Truro Colchester partnership, and really pulled all the players together to create the REN. And so the community is indebted very much to the chamber, and we're very delighted to be partnering on a bunch of things with the chamber this year. And there's my team. You can see AJ there. We also have Karen Putnam, who is now our Director of Community Development, and Kate Hamilton, who's our Business Growth Advisor, who aren't with us this evening. I want to talk a little bit about some of our key accomplishments, and this really is just a snapshot. We do a whole lot of things. I like to talk that I like to say that we're a small but mighty team, and we really are able to punch above our weight class. We're a small team with a small budget, but we're really hyper focused on doing impactful things that drive economic prosperity in the community, and that's been our priority. So in the last year, we've delivered objective expert business growth funding and problem-solving advice to more than 127 businesses. And that's the number since the inception of TCPEP is more in the 500 range now. And by the way, our services are free. So 127 businesses against a target of 80, including 35 startups. We have a new metric that I didn't include here because we're still validating it. But we know now that about 93% of startups that we've worked with are still in business 3 years later. So that's a bit of a win. I think the number is quite a bit better than it is in other communities. Just this year, we've helped secure more than $700,000 in funding for local businesses. And since inception, that number is more around 8.7 million. We completed our new 3-year strategic plan that I think you're all in possession of. And we've supported important local enterprises such as Scotia Pool, Cougar Dome, and Cliffs of Fundy UNESCO Geopark. All 3 of those organizations came to us with a need for sound business plans and business planning that enables them to become more independent and more self-reliant. And so we've helped all 3 of those organizations with those projects, and now we just wish them well. We submitted a successful unsolicited proposal to Nova Scotia Health for a collaborative family clinic in the Millbrook Power Center. Our request was for a 10,000 square foot clinic. We had a doctor gap of about 4.3, I think, whatever the 0.3 is. I don't know if you can get part of a doctor, but we wanted a clinic to attract those doctors because we didn't have clinic space for the number of doctors that we needed in the community. So we pulled together with Millbrook and sent an unsolicited proposal to Nova Scotia Health for this clinic with room for 4 doctors and 10,000 square feet. What's actually coming in 2027 is a 76,000 square feet facility housing 6 doctors, 2 nurse practitioners, blood taking, urgent care, a mobile chronic care unit, mental health care, and training space for new doctors. Now you might say, well, how are we going to find doctors to fill that clinic? Well, we know enough about physician recruitment now to know that our hospital, for example, has been a huge boon to doctors considering the community. The fact that it's such a beautiful, well-equipped, and relatively new hospital it's a huge asset for the community in our effort to attract doctors. And this clinic, which will be built in the traditional Mi'kmaq octagonal style, is going to be a value proposition as well. And we already have, at this point, enough doctors in the hopper who have expressed interest in coming to the community, including a couple of residents, that we will, in the next 18 months, be able to retire, for the moment at least, our patient wait list. Now, doctors come and go and the community continues to grow. So, you know, this challenge is not going to go away. It's never going to go away. But we're going to, at a minimum, take a big chunk out of the patient wait list on an ongoing basis. And we're really, really excited about that. The timing for this clinic has been pushed out just because of the sheer size of the project. It's a much bigger project than we anticipated. We do have indications from Millbrook that they are negotiating with Nova Scotia Health at the moment to put a temporary clinic at the Millbrook Power Center, supporting all of Colchester County, just while that new clinic is being built. So hopefully there'll be some more details to come out on that in the near future. Housing has become a priority for TCPEP, and we've decided to place our bet on manufactured and modular housing. We believe that's the future of housing. It's becoming much more cost efficient and much more time efficient. In a country like Canada, we feel that it would be very smart to rely on housing construction technology that isn't dependent on weather and seasonality. And so we know that this is coming, and we're basically trying to build the capacity within the community. So that began with this housing construction symposium with experts from all over the world coming in and talking about off-site construction of housing. It was an extremely well-attended event. We had more than 125 people. And the next step will be pulling the local players together who attended that event and seeing if we can get, you know, we have people who do trusses in the community. We have people who do panels. We have people who do kitchens. We have people who do bathrooms. If we can start pull those people together and getting them start collaborating, and we get some funding, some budget from the federal government for modular and manufactured homes, which they've said is coming, then we should be able to build an off-site housing construction industry, maybe not a big one, but at least a self-contained one right here in Colchester County. So that's the long-term goal, that we have accelerated housing construction capabilities right here in Colchester County, owned and operated by people in Colchester County. So that's the long-term objective there. We've also launched a new regional business investment initiative in partnership with the municipalities and the Government of Canada. And just recently, we secured $150,000 from the province, from the Department of Growth and Development, to support that initiative going forward. And it's great because the federal money that we got is specifically targeting foreign investors, whereas the provincial money that we've got, we can attract any business from Halifax, from New Brunswick, from Alberta, whatever we want to do with that money. So that $150,000 is over 2 years. We worked with our municipal partners to attract 5 new businesses to our region, most of which are in the Debert Industrial Park, and 3 of which are in the construction sector. So we're really excited about that. And in the past year, we've recruited 5 new doctors to our community. We collaborated with the Chamber of Commerce, BDC, Invest, and CBDC, and FutureWorks on an extremely vibrant Small Business Week. We had 6 events and an event or 2 every day over the course of Small Business Week. So this is our first year collaborating and our first year with such an aggressive schedule of activity, and we're going to be improving on that next year. We may do fewer activities next year, but something more impactful. But it was a great start. Just to summarize at a high level the impact that TCPEP is having on the community and on the economy. Our business ecosystem is continuing to expand significantly every year and faster than we see in most other communities of Nova Scotia. Jobs are being created. New services and activities that haven't been available before are being provided to residents. Not-for-profit community services like Cougar Dome and Scotia Pool are being stabilized. Graduates and wayward kids are becoming skilled trades apprentices. More racially marginalized people are becoming entrepreneurs and also feeling more welcome in the community. Lives are going to be saved by the new doctors that we're recruiting and the new clinic that we're going to be opening. And more businesses, this is an important one, more businesses are being sold instead of closed. In the last number of years, and I'm sure you all know businesses that you loved and relied on, just decided they didn't want to be in business anymore and close their doors. We're trying to change that paradigm so that people who don't want to do the business anymore sell the business instead of closing it. And that keeps the business moving in the economy. It keeps that service available to consumers, and the person selling the business gets a bit of a nest egg for their retirement. So it's a win-win all around. And we've had more and more businesses coming to us, telling them they're ready to pull out and they want to sell. So that's a skill set that we're trying to develop. So just going forward, I wanted to give you kind of a snapshot on our priorities for the balance of the fiscal. Business funding and other funding sources. So when TCPEP was originally founded, we had a fairly considerable amount of money from the business community that came to us through the chamber. That funding has not been available to us the last couple of years, and we need to go back at it. Part of the problem is the province matches the local contribution dollar for dollar, but only for municipalities and the chamber. So now we're going to go out directly to the business community, and the funding that comes from the business community won't be matched by the province. Also, unfortunately, because we're not a chamber, we're not a charity, we can't issue tax receipts. So it makes it a bit challenging, but there are enough community-minded business leaders in the town and around the town that we know we're going to be able to secure that funding. We're getting better and better at finding money. This is something that with TCPEP, not long after TCPEP started in 2018, COVID came. And so we were able to bank a lot of money that kept us going, and we had reserve funds for a couple of years. Last year, those dried up. And so now we basically have the funds that we gather in the course of the year. So we're getting way better at going out and finding additional and alternative sources of money. We're moving aggressively forward on regional business investment. And the theory there, by the way, before we started this project, municipalities were independently responsible for attracting business to the region. And basically what it was Jen Manton or Allison Grant would get a phone call saying, do you have any commercial space available? And they would say yes or no. And that was the extent of our business attraction efforts. Now, we've pulled all of the municipalities together, and we've put together a regional value proposition, because our regional value proposition is much more compelling and impactful than any individual community, right? We can talk about the university here and the community college. We can talk about the industrial park in Divert with its airstrip. We can talk about Stewiacke and its commercial tax incentive and its proximity to the Port of Halifax and the international airport. We can talk about our position on the convergence of the two most important trade routes in Eastern Canada, Highway 102 and 104. It's a great story. And the second piece, once we've pulled that story together, is to now proactively go out into the world and talk about Colchester County and talk about the assets that we have to offer for businesses of any kind. When we get a business that's interested in locating in Colchester County, then we'll sit together at a table and figure out which part of the county makes the most sense for that business based on their individual needs. So right now we're putting together some marketing materials and a lead generation strategy. We're going to be producing some sector specific videos because we can't aggressively target every industry or every industry sector there is. So we're prioritizing on some key sectors that we know we have a strong history in and a good story to tell. And those are things like transportation, freight and logistics, warehousing, manufacturing, agritech and agribusiness, and then subsequently retail and tourism as well. We've taken our business advisement process, as you would see in the strategic plan, and we've split it into two, momentum and accelerator. Historically, we've spent, I think, for an organization called the Partnership for Economic Prosperity, we've spent way too much time with self-employed people and solopreneurs, people who massage therapists, or people who make candles, or people who aren't going to employ others. They're not going to contribute significantly to the tax base of the community, and they're not creating a business that could be sold when they don't want to do it anymore. We still want to help those people. We still want to support all entrepreneurs in the community. So the Momentum program will be a one-to-many training system, which will be executed quarterly, with some targeted specific one-on-one face time to go over business plans and funding models, financial models. Accelerator, which we've always had, is where we go deep with clients with good potential to employ people, to contribute to the economy in a material way, or maybe they deliver a service that we need in the community that we don't have now. So those are going to be where we want to spend the most of our time, because those are the businesses that are going to have the most significant economic impact on the community. So we're launching Momentum this week, and we'll be relaunching the Accelerator program in Q4. Open floor, entrepreneurs being heard. We used to call this Like a Boss. This is a workshop that we're also going to be doing quarterly, and it's my favorite workshop because there's no topic. So many business development organizations, we're all not-for-profit people, and we sit around trying to figure out topics that would be interesting to business owners and business leaders. This particular one is really cool because we invite them to breakfast, and then we say, what's keeping you awake at night? And so the business owners get to talk to us about what their challenges are. We have experts at the table to help answer questions and help them with problems that they can't solve. But the amazing thing about the process is how much they actually share amongst one another. And these guys are living and breathing business ownership. So they're the best qualified to provide advice and perspective and context to other people who are struggling. It's also been a great opportunity for these business owners to actually network with one another. And we've actually had a couple of entrepreneurs end up working together as partners. So that's pretty exciting. AJ is leading our direct entry to trades apprenticeship recruitment. That's happening across the province. AJ is responsible for Colchester, Cumberland, and Pictou. And right now he's miles ahead of the other connector coordinators around the province. So he was a great hire, and we're very proud of him. We'll be executing a post-mortem. You all probably saw a year or so ago that we did a marketing campaign in the UK targeting doctors. We got more than 300 requests for information from doctors in the UK, but we haven't yet recruited a single one. And I wanted to know why. So we found some money from the Office of Healthcare Professional Recruitment, and right now we're talking to those doctors again and trying to understand why they didn't actually pull the trigger to come. Now the good news is this research project is now 2 weeks in the field, and we've already identified more than 5 doctors who are saying, yeah, no, I really do want to come. And something happened in the system. A ball got dropped at Nova Scotia Health's end or at their end, but we've identified 5 new doctors already, and we've only been doing this for 2 weeks. So we may end up squeezing some juice out of that project after all. We're doing a doctor focus group on retention. So Karen Putnam, our Director of Community Development, does a lot of stuff with doctors in the community, trying to provide events and fun activities for them to network and get to know each other and get to know the community a little bit better. But we want to make sure that we're doing stuff that doctors really want to do. We've done trivia nights, we've done pickleball, we've done golf tournaments and things like that. But we want to make sure that the programming we're putting in place is really of interest to the doctors and fun for the doctors. And finally, I'm of the opinion, and you might be too, that Colchester County used to be the agricultural center of Nova Scotia. And in the last 20 or 30 years, we've been basically co-opted by the Valley. And we need to reclaim that territory. The Valley has embarked on a project called AgriLink, which is business incubation for agribusinesses. And they've invited Colchester and Cumberland to participate in this initiative. And the idea is we want to provide customized business advisement and resource navigation and funding support to agribusinesses throughout that agricultural corridor of Nova Scotia, Cumberland, Colchester, and the Valley. You may know that banks and lenders, apart from Farm Credit Canada, won't typically lend to farmers. We need to get money into the hands of farmers. But to do that, they need to be an agribusiness, right? So Dal is working really hard to make farms in the community more sophisticated, to get them using digital technologies and so on. So we're gonna move in here as well and start teaching farmers to think and act and structure their work like business people with business plans, cash flow models, and so on. And that will give them more stability. It'll give them more access to funding. If you're a supply management farmer in Nova Scotia, you're doing pretty well indeed. But if you're doing anything else, you're struggling. You're shoveling driveways in the winter. We need to change that. We need to prioritize food production. I personally think food production is every bit as important as healthcare. But it was deprioritized by the government back in the 80s. It hasn't been a priority since we had farmers for ministers. We need to get that back, and we need to make sure that it's prioritized again. So my vision for this initiative is that it becomes a catalyst for the reintroduction of a provincial agricultural strategy, which we haven't actually had in decades. So that's the long-term vision for that project. Modular housing piece, I spoke about that already. I talked about succession planning. Collaboration with other client-facing organizations. There's so much resource for people who want to start a business or grow their business or solve problems with their business in the community. There's all kinds of organizations. We all know each other. We all like each other. We hang out together. There's lots of goodwill. But working in a silo is like a way of life in this community. And we need to break down these barriers. We made great progress during COVID to get everybody working together and collaborating, put the client in the middle of the equation and put us all around the client and figure out together which of us is best suited to support that client. It kind of fell apart a bit after COVID, and we're gonna reintroduce that. Small Business Week was kind of the catalyst for this, because it was the first time that we all worked together collaboratively, creating content, delivering content, organizing these things, marketing them, and so on. So I know the will is there, and this is something that we need to move forward on. We're not the only community that struggles with this stuff, but we're going to be maybe the first community to fix it. As part of our strategy, the 3-year strategy you saw, we're introducing a retail business strategy. Retail in this community has not gotten the attention that it needs from a systematic perspective. We have lots of retail, but it grows by happenstance, and you see too many businesses growing and then going, right? We have some important retail centers in the community, Truro being the most important, but we also have downtown Stewiacke and Macedon Ridge. We have Tatamagouche, we have Great Village, and we have the Millbrook Power Center. So we want to introduce some intentionality to the growth of retail. We want to start looking at what types of retail do people want in the community and that we need in the community that doesn't exist now, and build a plan to start to go out and attract that type of retail to the community. So we're really excited about that. Every time I go to Dartmouth Crossing, I think, why isn't this downtown Truro? Because what they tried to do in Dartmouth Crossing is to manufacture a charming, idyllic, outdoor walking, shopping experience that we offer organically here. And we would say people, I always tell people that we're within 150 kilometers of more than 1 million people. That's more than HRM. It's more than Moncton. It's more than any other community in Atlantic Canada. We can save people from Sydney to Glasgow, Pictou, Amherst, Moncton, a 2-hour commute. Those people who are going to HRM to shop. We could have them shopping here. And so that's kind of a long-term vision for that strategy. And then finally, we work with Stewiacke actually has a business committee, which has some councillors and some local people involved. And Stewiacke has asked us to actually work with them on their municipal plan, on an economic development component to the municipal plan. This is relatively new. Most municipalities don't actually include an economic development plan as part of their municipal plan. But Stewiacke wants to do that. Truro just released their strategic plan. And it has it has a pillar called economic prosperity. And TCPEP, I think, is mentioned once. So we have some work to do there as well. But I do see you all invest big dollars in TCPEP. And we want to make sure that you're maximizing the return on your investment. So it's great that you invest in TCPEP, enabling us to support the business ecosystem in the community, and increasingly some valuable not-for-profit services that you provide to the community. But we think there's a bigger role that we can play on the economic development side of things. And Stewiacke's going to be our testing ground to see if that actually makes sense. And then hopefully we'll have a best practice that we can deliver to you for your consideration. And that concludes my presentation, unless you have any questions or comments or concerns.
Thank you very much, David. Very detailed, and I don't know, you're small, but you're very mighty. Sure. I'd like to have a motion, please, to receive the presentation, moved by Councillor Kennedy, seconded by Councillor Leggett. And we'll entertain any questions. Councillor Patton, please.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, David. That was very well done. You mentioned 127 businesses helped this year. Were any of those farms or agribusinesses?
Yes, we've worked with Verpa, and we've worked with a number of farmers market, people who are at the farmers market. We're starting to look at the farmers market as a business incubator.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we did a workshop with the participants at the farmers market. We actually have a meeting with Dr. Bruce this next week to start to talk about getting into DAL in the student body, because innovation is really where the future is. And Verpa is a really good example, except Verpa, DAL wasn't involved in Verpa. It was a former professor of DAL. But we believe that similarly at the community college is a program called Entrepreneur in the Making. So we're deeply engaged with the community college, and when we identify a student that has a business idea, we can help kind of shepherd them through graduation into business. We want to do the same thing at DAL. We think there's innovation happening at DAL every day, but we need access to the student body there. For every graduate of DAL, there's DAL Ag, there's 4 jobs in Atlantic Canada, but they don't seem to be here. So we need to create a business ecosystem that enables them to start a business here and then employ other graduates here in our community. We have worked with farms. We worked with Sweet Earth Farms, which is an ASCAP producer, and a couple of others. Interestingly, not so much farming families like yours. It mostly like people from like accountants from Ontario that bought a farm here and then asked us for help. We don't have a lot of engagement with traditional farmers, and that's a nut that we'd like to crack.
Thank you for saying that, because that's where I was going with this as well. I worked for programs at Department of Agriculture for a few years, and I'm still shocked by the number of farms that don't know those programs exist. And there is a program for business plan writing, for succession planning. There are several of those types of programs there. So I mean, if you can even direct them to some of that funding,
Yeah.
that is available. If I can, Chair. I had another question. The clinic, the collaborative family clinic in Millbrook, will non-Indigenous community members be able to use that?
Yeah, I'm glad you asked that question, because I normally remember to mention that this is for the entire community.
Okay,
There is an Indigenous clinic at Millbrook. It's Dr. Boyce's clinic, which is specifically for Indigenous people.
okay, and that's why I'm asking.
That will continue, and that clinic is expanding.
Okay,
But this clinic is to support all of Colchester County.
perfect. Thank you. Sorry, Chair, I thought I had one more. Oh, yes, I do. how do you tap into, if I may, Chair, how do you tap into the business owners for your open floor entrepreneurs being heard? Do you have?
Two
you s-
ways.
Okay,
Two ways. We have a business directory and we invite businesses to that event, but we also advertise for it. So
okay,
this was initially a partnership with Triangle Events and Mentoring Plus.
Mhm.
And it was for entrepreneurs. But we ended up with a lot of those massage therapists and people like that there. And we really want this particular event to target business owners. So the partnership with Mentoring Plus went away. And so we're now executing this independently. So we'll be inviting people from our directory. And we'll be advertising it specifically targeting business owners. If someone who's not a business owner wants to come, we're not gonna stop them. We're intentionally trying to get business owners in there.
okay. Thank you
And
very
that was,
much.
and we were very effective with that last time, so we're hoping that. The challenge is, the bigger ticket challenge here is that, we've spent a lot of our time and energy with solopreneurs and small, tiny businesses and independently owned businesses. They're all delivering a value, they're all, bringing a service to the community. But the REN was created for a specific purpose, and that was to grow economic prosperity within the region. So we want to support these people, we want to help these people, but really, I would like to be receiving calls from John Stanton, from Charles McCory, from people who are growing businesses and really contributing significantly to the economy. The Libcans, the Coltechs of the community, right? And that's where we're shifting our focus a little bit, not to the exclusion of the rest, but that's where we want to spend the majority of our time and resources.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, and I see your hand up, Councillor Cooper, but Councillor Leggett up there before you, so Councillor Leggett.
Thank you. Very nice presentation. My only kind of inquiry is, how does a person, the sub 30-year-old group, and access the apprenticeship side of your offerings?
Say that again.
How does the sub 30-year-old group engage with your apprenticeship program?
They call AJ.
Okay,
Um,
direct line sort of thing?
Yeah, and they can go to, AJ has a website, Northern Connector Program. He's also all over the internet, because he does a podcast on networking, so he's pretty well known. And AJ spends most of his days in schools, and talking about the apprenticeship program, and direct entry route. We did, in the interest of total transparency, we did put together a very innovative social media marketing campaign to target non-students, right, who are at home and not in school, and they wouldn't see necessarily his presentation. And the province wanted to approve the marketing program, and so we sent them all our materials, and we haven't heard back since, which is kind of to be expected. So we are exploring ways to reach non-students under 30. But it's definitely, without a social media campaign, it's a lot more complicated than just going and presenting to schools.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Cooper, please.
Is it okay now?
Yeah, we hear you. Wow.
He's gonna mute one, he's not here twice.
Oh,
Yeah.
you're on there twice, so I wonder if you could get yourself out of one of the logins.
Stereo.
That's why we're getting an echo.
I'm gonna have to answer twice. You might have two different answers.
How about now?
Okay.
No, wait a second. How about now?
Better.
Better.
It's gone, yeah.
Yes.
Am I still there?
Yeah. Now,
Good.
can you hear us?
Okay. I can't hear you, but I'll just what I'll say is I was just wanted to make a comment. I want to thank them for the presentation and what they're doing. I remember the days of the vocational schools And I'm really, I know this, we've talked through many councils regarding, the educational part and getting back to the trades and things like that. So I'm really, really happy that there's a strong focus on that. So I didn't really have a question. I just wanted to congratulate them on that part, especially. Anyway, I'll let you go. I can't hear now. I got my phone out. So thank you very much.
Councillor Kennedy.
Thank you, Dave, for the presentation. Cheers. You mentioned that the provincial funding is down since 2017. Did they give you a reason for that at a time when tariffs are in and the South is coming at us and businesses are struggling and they cut back?
So I'm a private sector guy. I've spent most of my career working in companies, and this is my first job working with government. And even at this point, 4 years in, I think I could write a book. The short answer is no. We haven't had a reduction in provincial funding. It's just been flat.
Yeah.
So basically they match the local contribution dollar for dollar up to $200,000. And the formula, I'm not sure if the formula was initially uniform across the province, but at this point it's different for every rent, which is also kind of bizarre. So the REN CEOs have made several representations to the province, staff typically, that we need a proper funding formula. Not so much an increase, but a funding formula, which has an inflationary growth component to it and which is uniform across the province. And what comes back after, what they say is, we'll take this forward. And they've done this 3 years in a row now. We'll take this forward and we'll see what happens, right? So then the budget planning happens. And the way the Department of Growth and Development describes that is as a black box. So they make every department makes its representations to the Department of Finance, and then it goes into this black box, which I assume is Department of Finance staff. And what comes out is what comes out. And so far, no increase has come out and no explanation for that. Now we have a new minister and a new deputy minister. And we have a meeting coming up in a couple of weeks with the new deputy minister. And we're hoping to get some traction. Every time they get a new minister, a new deputy, new CEO at West Nova Scotia, there's just like a period of upheaval that just goes on for ridiculous amounts of time. That's the longer answer to your question.
Thank you. And a second question, Chair. I'm concerned about the community college. Years ago, you know this as well as I do, you didn't have to have an academic standing to get in the community college. If you were good with your hands, you may not be good in the academic world. Now that world is all academic. You've got to have grade 12, certain marks, etc., to get in. Is that correct?
I'm not sure that's correct.
Close to correct.
It may be, I would dare say, I don't want to speak for anybody else.
Yeah.
My observation has been that may be correct on paper, but not necessarily in practice. I think in practice, there's quite a lot of flexibility.
Okay.
And they have a program, I think it's called the Achieve program, for kids who still have some high school education that needs to take place, but they've graduated. So there's quite a bit of flexibility there. It hasn't been my experience that the academic standards have increased in it.
I'm glad to hear that.
But I'm not an expert on that.
I've heard the opposite, actually, and I'm so glad that you're talking to people that haven't gone to school and have dropped out, etc. But there's so many people that are discouraged with trying to get into community college.
I find it very frustrating as someone who's responsible for workforce development in the community.
Mm.
I was born and raised in Truro, and I went to school when the vocational center was there.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll speak frankly, you were a teacher at CBC when I was there.
Mm-hmm.
What we were told by the vocational school was there, what we were told by the guidance counselors back in the 80s was, you only go to the vocational school if you're too stupid to go to the real.
Yeah.
And the reality is a lot of those people that made that choice could buy and sell meat today. We didn't have a skills gap when the vocational school was there. We had all the skills that we needed in the community. the vocational school went away and the community college came ostensibly to up-level the dignity of the career. And now suddenly we don't have the skills that we need in the community. For the most part, Lek gets upset when I say this, but for the most part, they don't teach trades at the community college in Truro. There are a few specific skills that they teach, but it's not a trade school. So we have kids from Colchester County, if they want to be a plumber or an electrician or a welder or a carpenter, they have to go to Spring Hill or Pictou or Hawkesbury or somewhere in HRM. Maybe they come back to our community, maybe they don't.
Thank you.
Councilor Martell.
Thank you, and thank you, David, for the presentation. It's certainly no easy feat to manage an aggressive portfolio to support local business and development in such a diverse economy here in Colchester, and it's spread across many, many different areas. So I'm going to make 2 points. I'm really happy to hear about the expansion into support for retail and tourism. There's absolutely no question that we are seeing people coming from all over the province that are shopping here in Truro. It's from coast to coast to coast, and they are coming to Truro. Having more retail and the different types of retail will strengthen everyone's local business. So good on you for recognizing that. Secondly, you mentioned the importance of the DeBert Airport and having that transportation route here. Related to trades, the federal government regulates many of the jobs that are within the aircraft industry. So for instance, aviation maintenance engineers are all federally regulated. So there's a really lack of incentive to encourage young people or people in general to seek that career when there are so many benefits offered by the province right now. If you want to go into plumbing or electrician or carpentry, where you're not having to pay income tax, you get to claim your tools. Anyone going into those federally regulated trades does not get those benefits. So there is a gap in government regulations that will impact that industry over time and have an impact potentially on jobs in our area.
That's an interesting insight. I wasn't aware of that. I'm gonna ask AJ to take you out for coffee and get more information.
Okay.
See if there's something. Yes.
You, Councillor Leggett.
Thank you. That was my concern about the apprenticeship program. There's 2 or 3 young kids out home, early 20s, that have been basically, I don't know all the details, but they came back and say they're stonewalled to getting in the apprenticeship program. There's one kid at home, he's now had to wait 2 years to get into the linesman program in Spring Hill. There's another kid that's just got into the electrician program to try to get into the government, and that got stonewalled, so now he's back outside. But he wants to become an electrician. Unless you're sponsored by an Adjournment company, you're not getting into that house, right? So we do need an avenue, because it's a different world today than when we went through. I was one of the ones that you alluded to earlier. But you know, we all make our way in the world, but the system isn't there. The maturity level isn't there in the kids today to understand how to do these things by themselves. So it's how do we get these, you know, I forget what I know a couple of them graduated with my daughter at CEC 2 years ago, and there was a term for the, you know, the vocational student propositions that came out of CEC. I forget exactly how it was worded, but you know what it meant. But there seems to be either not enough seats in these classes, because obviously the demand is there for future work. So the classes are either full, they're not being offered for at least say 2 years. So a lot of these kids are going to get frustrated and probably end up going over to work in an oil patch, making 3 times what most of us are making now, when they could be staying here, helping us out from the stuff we do need. Thanks.
Counselor, I'd first like to just clarify that the opinions of the guidance counselors at CEC.
Oh, don't worry. I've heard those words.
I would also go so far as to say that they're probably eating their words now.
Yeah,
In light of the significant skills gap that we have in the community.
I did already.
Our experience with the apprenticeship program has also been mixed. We're delighted to see that this has become a high priority for the provincial government. On a number of files, I find that when something becomes a high priority of the provincial government, i.e. the premier, and the ministry, it takes a while for the staff to really embrace it and make it a priority and make it more efficient. So I'm not sure, one of the other things we're finding out with AJ's work is that there aren't as many red seals and journeymen around as we maybe thought there were. Because you're right, an apprentice has to be under the tutelage of a journeyman or a red seal. And we're finding that in a lot of trades in Nova Scotia where you might expect there to be lots of red seals and journeymen who could take on apprentices, that they're not there. They're doing the job of a red seal or a journeyman, but they're not actually, they haven't challenged the accreditation.
Like, there's a lot of tradespeople in the area that are red seal, plumbers, carpenters, whatever, but they're not a company. So they're just for an individual electrician or plumber or carpenter to take on it as apprentice is not incentive wise. It's the Sorensens and, you know, the bigger electrical companies or the bigger plumbing companies that are taking on, or even the government.
I also think the apprenticeship program, as useful as it is not well resourced at the recruitment end of things. And so we find that there are log jams there that may not have anything to do with whether there's places for these potential apprentices or not. It has much more to do with the red tape and the bureaucracy of people running the apprenticeship program. I hope I'm not getting AJ in trouble saying that.
I just have a quick question. Have you had, your organization had any recent, have done any recent work with a project called Scotia Port?
Scotia Port?
Yeah.
Haven't heard that word in a while.
So you haven't had any
No,
recent
the short answer is no.
Okay.
The last conversations I had with the Scotia Port people suggested that Scotia Port, I think Scotia Port will happen. But will it happen in this decade? I don't know. It's really going to be dependent on demand coming out of the port. Right? When the port runs out of space for storage, then Scotia Port will make more sense. Now, the caveat there is that traffic patterns in Halifax are becoming very congested, right? And so the port is in two spots, you know, in the south end and in the north end. I know it's getting more and more difficult to be transporting product from end to end. So does that present an opportunity for us at some point? Maybe. In addition to that, I'm one of the people who believes that the best days of rail are still ahead of us. And that's why it's on my slide. That's why it's a priority for me. My personal goal in my career, one of my legacy projects is a commuter train between Truro and HRM. I think there are a lot of people in Truro who work in HRM and vice versa. But I also know from the Scotia Port perspective that Cape Breton is actively pursuing a reintroduction of rail service between the port activity in Cape Breton and the rest of Canada. That can only present opportunities for this community. So, you know, keeping our finger on the pulse, monitoring the situation. Trains and train companies being as they are, it's a slow moving process, but I do believe Scotia Port will come. Will it come soon? Will it come under the current ownership? I can't speculate.
All right, thank you. I don't see any more microphones lit on, so we have a motion before us. Is anybody opposed to the motion?
Nope.
Motion carries. Look for a motion to adjourn. Moved by Councillor Kennedy. Thank you.
Thanks so much.
Thank you, David, and
Thank you.
everybody else for coming.
Yep.
Drive carefully, getting home.
Nice to see you. Nice to see you. Nice chat.
Tasty.
Yeah.
Night.
See you tomorrow night.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, it's tomorrow night.
Thanks, Badgewater.
Hopefully, okay.
Yeah.
Wow, actually meeting.
You leaving?